Tervetuloa takaisin Ihminen vai kone? Huomisen hotellissa podcastin pariin. Tänään meillä on aihe, joka koskettaa jokaista hotellijohtajaa, yrittäjää ja myyntipäällikköä. Markkinointi. Mutta ei se perinteinen laitetaan lehteen ilmoitusmarkkinointi, vaan se koneisto, jolla asiakkaat oikeasti tuodaan ovesta sisään digitaalisella aikakaudella. Mä olen Joel Pakalén.
Ja mä oon Niemelän Maija. Tänäänkin me kysytään vaikeita kysymyksiä. Voiko tekoäly hoitaa markkinoinnin kokonaan? Miksi hotellit häviävät taistelun asiakkaista teknologiafirmoille? Ja ennen kaikkea, mitä pienelläkin tiimillä voi rakentaa markkinointikoneiston, joka pyörii kuin itsestään?
Juuri näin. Meidän vieraalla on kokemusta sekä hotellialan disruptoimisesta että puhtaasta softa-bisneksestä, joten luvassa on tiukkaa asiaa kasvusta ja kannattavuudesta.
Kyllä, mutta ennen kuin mennään siihen, niin muistutellaan, että tässä podcastissa on kyseessä ja taustavoimana hanke Finnish Hotels of Tomorrow 2.0. Metropolian ja Haaga-Helian yhteistyöllä me kehitetään ja innovoidaan tulevaisuuden hotellia. Rahoittajina Uudenmaan liitto ja EAKR.
Ja tavoite on selvä. Löytää ne käytännön ratkaisut, joilla suomalainen hospitality-ala pärjää kilpailussa. Mennäänpä päivän vieraaseen, koska vieraamme on suomalaistunut kansainvälinen huippuosaaja. Vaihdamme tässä jaksossa lennosta Englantiin.
So, let's welcome to our guest and dive in.
Nice.
Welcome, Marc.
Thank you for having me, first of all. Beautiful introduction. Couldn't have said it any better myself.
So today we are joined by a true full-stack marketer. He is Dutch-born, but has become a regular in the Helsinki tech scene and in Finland. He helped build a brand for the tech-focused hospitality company, Bob W. And now he promotes growth at the B2B SaaS firm, Applixure.
And we have heard that he's a man who believes in authenticity over polished corporate jargon. Warm welcome, Marc.
Thank you. Yes, well, to jump in there straight away, yeah. That's definitely something that I prefer. Just skip over their quote-unquote bullshit and go straight to the real talk. So numbers talk, words don't usually.
Exactly. Marc, it's great to have you. We've been discussing about having you in the podcast for quite some time, and now it really happens. I've known you for a few years now as a marketing mastermind.
Oh, thank you.
But also as a human-first people person with some stand-up comedy in your backbone. For those who don't know you, you have a fascinating profile because you've moved from the hospitality trenches at Bob W to the world of pure software and SaaS. But before we get serious, we have to break the ice. You are known for advocating true hospitality, but also no-nonsense marketing. What is the one marketing buzzword or cliche in the hotel industry that you would absolutely ban if you could?
It's funny that you introduced me with authenticity because that's one word that I would totally ban. You see this a lot in hospitality where people use the words, well, authenticity, like you will await an authentic experience. And that doesn't mean anything. Like let the guest decide what it is, but describe in the best way possible what your experience could entail. So let's say we grab the word luxury. You can't say you have a luxurious experience because what luxury means is so different for everyone. But what you can say is that you have top-notch quality materials in the bed, the room, the bar, stuff like that. And that is the same for me in authenticity. You can't describe it as authentic. That's up to the guest itself. So those words in general, but authenticity maybe on its own. And if we translate that slightly to a more marketing angle in terms of buzzwords, I would completely remove the word discount. Like discount is such a horrible thing to apply in hospitality marketing because it diminishes your brand, especially brand equity over the long term. And that's what I would remove.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to hear that you are already talking about the guest, because that is what it's all about, you know.
Yeah. That's where the money is.
Yeah, that's where the money comes and that what runs the world, kind of, still. Okay, Marc, could you briefly tell our listeners about your background?
I can.
How did you come to Finland, for example?
This is one of the best import products of Finland, and that's a Finnish partner. So that's how it all applied. No, 10 years ago, a little bit over 10 years ago already, I studied, I was going to do an Erasmus half year in Lahti. I was supposed to be here for like 4 or 5 months and then go back to where I came from, but I met a beautiful blonde woman at the airport even, and we have been together very literally ever since, and that has really opened up the opportunities in Finland for me as well. We did live in the Netherlands for a couple of years, but at one point, we were looking to start a family as well, which we have started at this point. And Finland was a very natural destination to do that, especially obviously with her family and friends also being here. So that's a little bit the origin story for coming to Finland. But my background itself is in marketing, like you guys described. 10 years ago, I entered the workforce, as they say, after studying, and I wanted to do something like marketing related. My dad has actually a background in sales and marketing, and he actually was in his company looking for a marketeer. And I thought, you know what, why not? It's fun. I'm going to work with my dad. I enjoy that anyway. So I jumped in, not really knowing a lot about different aspects. And the more and more I developed in that position, I really enjoyed what you can do with digital marketing specifically at the time. And what was really cool to see is that we were selling at the time a B2B or a business product for business professionals. And I was suddenly generating revenue through social media advertising. And that was pretty cool because I came from basically never having done this to suddenly doing 2,000 euros in revenue every month, 5,000, 10,000. Suddenly it was like, wow, I have so much power and I'm basically sitting in my bedroom trying to generate this kind of revenue. So that was pretty cool. But I thought if I've taught myself all of this through YouTube and through colleagues, what could I do if I do go to the highest potential level? So my next step was related to how do I get to work at a marketing agency that does marketing for the biggest brands out there. So I went to a company called Omnicom Media Group. So Omnicom Media Group basically does marketing for huge brands. And one of the accounts that I was working on was McDonald's. It was very cool. It was very interesting. But it is a bigger type of company, so corporations and more bureaucracy. And that is, the ADHDer in me can't handle that quite well. So I thought after a year, you know what, I feel like I could do this much better, a lot faster and a lot more innovative. So I decided to start my own company with a buddy of mine. So we switched towards that. We did that for a few years. And eventually, throughout the years and having a Finnish partner, moving back to Finland, got in touch with Bob W. So I was looking for a new challenge, this new startup, and they had technology-based first hospitality. Thought this sounds quite interesting. Is this the future? Is this where it's heading? And enrolled that, did that for a few years, and eventually, over the years, technology really takes the lead in my ambition. So I've now really switched to like technology-based companies entirely, so SaaS-based companies. So that's a little bit where my expertise lies at the moment.
So you've been marketing, McDonald's burgers, nights in the hotel, and now selling software to IT teams.
When you put it that way, it sounds very interesting. But yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, but is marketing just marketing regardless of the product?
My personal vision is that you need to be able to zoom out to what you sell. And I think if you mentioned it numbers based, if you zoom out and you see what the customer journey is, where the bottlenecks lie, and that eventually goes towards a very specific target. So that can be revenue, lifetime value, that can be cost of the acquisition. These things shouldn't naturally quite change across industries. Sure, there are channels where you need to jump into that. For example, with hospitality, it's OTAs. With B2B SaaS, it's a whole mix of different channels. So the decision-making process can be longer and different. But overall, I think eventually what you're selling to is the human. It's always human-centric marketing. So that is what I think doesn't change at all. You are trying to solve something, provide something to a human being, and that's eventually the same across industries.
And how do you sell? Is it the feeling?
The feelings, all the feelings. It's very authentic, yeah.
Luxurious feeling of authenticity.
Yeah. No, that's a bit more complex to give you in one sentence, but yeah, eventually you need to find across multiple channels and multiple steps something that you provide to someone that they find valuable. So yeah.
Amazing. You have quite a background, and let's deep dive into this topic of marketing. So demand capture versus demand generation. We were talking about how it was done in the corporate world, then of course moving into more agile entrepreneur, small startup scenery. But let's look at the big picture. So traditional hotels, as we are teaching future hospitality professionals at Haaga-Helian.
Yep.
And future employees of traditional hotels. These hotels are often obsessed with capturing demand. We need to capture demand from here and there, basically fighting for visibility nowadays in the digital channels. Do you talk about what I understood and heard about demand generation, in essence? So for the hotel leaders listening and for the future hotel professionals, how has the game changed? Why isn't it enough anymore to just have a nice website and wait for bookings to come in?
If I crack that code entirely, that would be a $1 million solution. But
now listen up, people.
No, I think depending on what you are, so if you're an independent hotel, you're a small hotel, you're a big chain, like the marketing angle is very different. So I think if you just focus on the demand capturing, so if you would really like we have the booking stages, or let's say the life cycle stages. You have someone who is not looking at all, but open to high level, let's call it content or information. So 5 things to do if you ever go to Barbados. Okay, great. Worth reading, but something to not really take action on just yet. But you have plenty to see. The next one is like, okay, I'm actively looking for a trip, or I'm going towards that phase. Then there's the booking stage at all. You know exactly where you're going, what the requirements most likely are. Then you go to waiting before the trip happens, the trip is happening, and after the trip. If you just focus just on the demand capturing, so something that already exists, which is quite lucrative because that means low effort, potentially high reward, there's a lot of competition in that space. And that's the tricky part. If you just focus on that part, you are competing with Booking.com, Expedia, Hotels.com. Hey, good luck. These guys, Booking.com is, this is years ago when I looked it up, Booking.com was Google's biggest customer globally. Good luck with $1 billion ad budget versus the 200 euros you have with your smaller independent hotel. Now, budgets don't have to say anything. You can get creative in those things, but that's why I would personally advocate to go a bit wider across the entire booking cycles. So if you are a small independent hotel, you can maybe tell about the events or things happening nearby your hotel that would be, first of all, worth visiting, because if there's a cool convention happening nearby and you have special tickets to give to a few people that are in your CRM base, okay, you already have you can establish a longer connection because, hey, more people are willing to hear the stories you tell. So I think, coming back to your original question, it's a lot more interesting and you have a lot more chance to capture demand before it actually is there to begin with, and you can plant that seed so you're a lot more top of mind. And I think that is a big difference. Content has in the last 10 years really taken the front seat in why people want to be part of things. So brand, content, those kinds of things. If you're just looking for a very transactional kind of relationship, I need to go to Turku, I need to just be somewhere near that convention center, that's great, that's fine. But there is so much more demand out there that's also a return business where you could establish this relationship a lot better. So that would be my answer.
Cool. Damn. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if you have enough time, but I have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we have plenty of time. Don't worry. And we're gonna have a sequel if necessary.
We can do an entire show about this. We can talk for days.
Kind of like leaning towards again something tangible, being Bob W experience.
Yep.
You were there quite a while. When you were at Bob W, you didn't have a massive history behind, like, let's say, Hotel Camp. Everyone knows Hotel Camp.
Yeah.
You had to build trust from day one, from zero, for a contactless hotel or a staffless hotel, if you will. But how did you use content to make people, trust a brand which was brand new?
brand new, yeah. I think to begin with, positioning Bob W in the right way is key in this aspect. So Camp, I haven't lived in Helsinki for that long, but I know it at least. It's a very established hotel on its own. But what we were looking after is that we are not looking for people maybe to come for a whole week and stay in a Bob W. Actually, what Bob W advocates is like, go explore the city. Like, we will tell you exactly where you need to be and what you need to do, but it's not, you don't stay there. Now, you can stay for longer periods of time at Bob W. The whole concept is designed that you can stay 1 day or 100 days or even years. It doesn't really matter. But it is also that it's life beyond the room itself. And that was the kind of audience that we were looking to target as well. So how do we make sure that we find the right person is also by telling the story that, okay, we have great rooms, there's a lot of design. We also have technology first. You can do everything yourself. You know, those pain points of having to check into a hotel and having to wait and there's a queue and the family in front of you is just so slow and it's just taking forever. You don't have to do that. So that's like a pain point taken away from Bob W guests. And I think that's that we did really well, is that we made sure that we also clarified, if you want to speak to a human, they're just a minute away. Like, that's all digital. It's all via WhatsApp or a phone call. You don't have to do all that slow physical part. Now, some people really enjoy that, but there's a lot of people, myself included, I don't want to be anywhere near that. Like, get me away from the front desk as far as possible, because it just slows me. It feels like it slows me down. I want to hit the city. I want to see what there's out there, and with my family, explore that part. So as long as you know who you're targeting, that is not like a burden or anything else. If anything, it's just a plus and a bonus. So the content that we created was very much about, sure, what the apartment was about. So we have design aspects, we have the location nearby, all these cool places, bars, restaurants. There was obviously the technology-based aspect that you can explore all these things in the app and book early check-in, late check-outs with a click of a button. So if you clarify that to yourself and then explore that in your content, your audience is also way more willing to hear that kind of stuff.
Cool. So you essentially moved from approaching kind of like spreading the word of Bob W from a traditional marketing point of view to more relationship building, human-focused, maybe guest-focused approach when kind of like building the storyline and connecting with your audience.
So if you talk about it from the life cycle perspective, we definitely had like a different approach, I would say, to the average hotel. I think also to bear in mind with these things is that 75% of guests never come back. Like I don't know if that's the latest statistic, but I saw this on an e-commerce statistic the other day as well. Like 75% of buyers on the e-com website, they never come back. So you need to also make sure that you don't focus your efforts specifically on everyone. You're trying to establish a relationship for the long term with that 25% of the guests that could come back. Doesn't mean that 75 is not interesting. They can still advocate and promote with more business. They can generate reviews. They can do more stuff like that. But that 25% is where in the long term, you need to make sure that your USPs are quite clear. You tell that through the content, through the events, and eventually tailoring to the reason to book in eventually, because you can't just talk about content and events. You need to also have a clear call to action. But that 25% is where you need to emphasize. And actually, if we now go into very nitty-gritty kind of stuff, if you can also segment the people that are coming back, like are they business bookers? Are they coming for their family? Are they coming for different reasons? You can establish a lot better personal connection, and you can send way more personalized content to them to come back. Like, hey, there's a family event coming up, like 4 days full chaos fun in Tallinn, for example. Okay, that's a great reason to book right now. We have a special offer. If you do this, you get this extra on the room. So that is the type of content that people want to then see and then come back to as well.
How well does this segmentation work? Like, I'm assuming there's tools involved. Don't need to,
how specific?
Tell any secrets, if you. But just on a broader scale, I'm again, for our listeners who are maybe thinking about the same things but not sure how to approach it. How would you approach it now if you need to start planning this kind of like this segmentation strategy?
In a very short, simple answer is just ask your guests. And that can be based on their behavior as well. So if they are clearly booking a family room and they've checked in 3 kids, segmentation number 1 is this is a family. Doesn't mean that the father, the mother, the kids can't come back themselves later on. But the person who booked at least falls into potentially 2 segments, a solo traveler or a family traveler. So this is kind of interesting already. But the more you ask from them, let's say you do have a physical front desk. We didn't have that at Bob W, but you can maybe ask some clarifying questions like, hey, is there any kind of stuff that you would love to hear more about that we can tell you? And maybe just have like a quick checklist. Would you ever come back to Helsinki for business, for example? No. Okay, are you with a family? Do you have a family? Okay, great. That's nice to hear. We have some other offerings that could be interesting for you as well. So this jumps into a sales angle straight away, but you can use that kind of information so easily. So I think that's where segmentation just starts. Make sure that you ask the question to begin with, and also just check based on what they've booked or checked on the website multiple times. At one point, you can just like flag that as like a tag or segment. Depends a bit on which CRM or kind of tool you use, but it is quite easy. And then it's up to you to actually use that information.
CRM being customer relationship management.
Sorry, jargon jumping in even though. It's no CRM. So basically, it doesn't even have to be a certain tool, or it's something that you can just very easily navigate who is in which segment. So that wouldn't advise it, but you can even use a spreadsheet for that. Just be careful GDPR with that information leaking.
Exactly. So in essence, I would say showing interest towards your guests, kind of like trying to know.
Understanding,
interest, understanding, and maybe just to know kind of like their preferences and start building from that. Cool.
Maybe also to quickly jump in, if you have a little bit of information, doesn't mean that you are also maybe missing information. So if you're a family traveler, be careful that only family information is the only thing relevant to them. It just needs to make sure that is a piece of information, but allow them to expand their own segmentation as well. It's a bit more difficult to do sometimes, but
Oh man, I would love to go down that path, but maybe let's move forward.
Okay. Yes. Many of our listeners run small hotels or private hotels. And you know that marketing is done in really small teams.
Mm-hmm.
High output, small team. How do we do that?
This is my personal view on the situation. However, I really believe in the fact that you need to make sure that you have strategic clarity, you know what you need to do, and you get help around you. A small team of freelancers is my preferred solution to get the results that you want. So I think a big issue I see with smaller teams, or even actually bigger hotels, is that they try to do a lot of things themselves, and Canva is suddenly their best friend. And if you look at their Instagram page, it's one template that looks more techy, then it's more sporty, then it's this. You're really hurting your own brand by doing a lot of these things yourself. And I think a lot of small teams, this is even beyond hospitality, I see this across the board so widely, that because they try to do things themselves, they get bogged down in the day-to-day and they lose that strategic focus of why they are doing the thing that they are doing to begin with. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend, because if we translate to your salary, I'm describing a number now, but let's say you earn 3,000 euros in a month and you spend 2 weeks on trying to get a video live or trying to design a template. Great, that cost you 1,500 euros or 1,000 euros just to make that video. Makes no sense, but you can find extremely affordable freelancers across the globe. I, for myself, love Upwork. It's a channel where you can find these. I have a video editor in Vietnam. He helps us create videos for a fraction of the price as it would cost to a local freelancer. Or if I start designing videos myself, no one wants to see that stuff. So this really makes a big, huge difference. So if you could 10x your output and actually also generate quality, because that's the next thing. If you start, I don't know if you guys have a design background, but I assume not. But if you start designing things yourself, it's just not the same quality as someone who's done that for years. They can do it in 30 minutes, have a great post live. And then you can just focus on, okay, once that post is live, I need to make sure that this person is tagged and this goes there and this goes there. And then suddenly you have a lot more visibility or a lot more actions that are generating to that end goal. So you need to keep that end goal in mind and also let other people do what they're good at so you can keep that strategic focus. So this is where small teams can make a huge difference. And I think the benefit for small teams versus big teams is that you can move fast. A big hotel chain needs approval from this person and this one. And what is it, like the group head or whatever, the regional
3
director.
weeks is gone already.
Yeah, exactly. But a small team can get this live in a day. Hey, ships, there's this new event or this artist is coming to town. Boom, post live by the end of the day. That kind of stuff, moving fast is also a huge difference. So.
Okay, you already mentioned video.
Yes.
So what do I need to do that if I'm a general manager in a small hotel? Is iPhone and ring light enough? Do I need to have a team?
It can be that easy. Now, obviously, depending on how you position yourself, if you're a more high-end hotel quality, there's a minimum quality requirement. Now, if you're a very small hostel, the bar is a lot lower, I would argue, but it again depends a bit on your branding. But you can make it as complex and expensive as you want yourself, but just make sure that you start at least somewhere. So, for example, in our company also, I just record all of our video content with my iPhone, literally the one that's in my pocket right now. And the iPhone is fantastic. It has, I don't know how many megapixels now, 20, 30, 50, I don't know. So you can do a lot in that regard. But I do also think it helps that you have a little bit of a framework where your content is coming from. So just creating content for the sake of content, that makes no sense. But a formula that I use I've used for the last years anyway, is that you start with writing an article. And that can be a short article, that can be a long article. It doesn't matter about the length. But you start creating something about an article that someone wants to hear about.
Yes.
From there, you have information that you can multi-purpose across different channels. So, okay, you have an article. Now you translate this to a script and you can actually create the video that comes with it. So let's say the article is about 5 things that you need to see in Helsinki in February that's coming up. Okay, you have the article, you have 5 bits. Okay, in the video, you could stand in front of your hotel, have a microphone, a little bit good audio quality, and explain, hey, these things are coming up in February and I'm going to tell you exactly where they are. Number 1 is check this hotel or check our hotel or something like that. The second one is check out this restaurant because they have an event. Well, you stand in front of the restaurant, maybe quickly check with the store manager or whoever you can discuss this stuff with. And suddenly you have a video. From that video, you can make short form videos, get it on TikTok, Instagram stories, all the other stuff. You can even make a podcast episode about it. So you can do a lot of this stuff. And this all started from just an article.
Yeah, just one
simple thing.
And you scale it.
Exactly.
Amazing. But video, is the video the thing 2026?
Yes, it has and always will be, I think. But I wouldn't necessarily focus on just video on its own, because it really depends on where your audience is and how they prefer to consume your content. So, for example, your listeners, video helps, but they're clearly listening to what you have to say. So on one side, podcast has boomed throughout the last years enormously. Yeah. So audio on its own is also fantastic. But it just really depends. So there's no right and wrong answer in the type of content. I would argue that you have a huge potential if you do embrace video, because we live in a 3-second world now, so 3-second content. If you see a bunch of words, a wall of text, people are like, crap, whatever. You can explain a lot more with video because it's a more lazy form of content. Like reading, you have to actually read, and video can just happen in front of your eyes and you can still consume the information. So yes or no is not a right answer, but video is definitely highly recommended. I would not say that there's no other marketer in the world that says don't use video. That would be ludicrous.
It kind of like sounds like building your content ecosystem. So you have kind of different elements which interconnect and support one another, and then builds the foundation of the brand in essence. Yeah, nice. Cool.
Okay, and that is also, by the way, the reason that we are doing a podcast.
Nice. So this was an article, and everything I'm saying is pre-written.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of course, students listening, I hope, at least watching the video clips, the bloopers, which will most likely be uploaded to YouTube as well.
Oh, nice. Looking forward to that one.
If they want to impress a future employer, should they be showing a portfolio of polished PDFs, explain their experience, or is a reel enough, like a TikTok feed or a 10-second video?
Interesting. So if I would translate to myself and hiring I've done in the past, you've been part of the process, is I prefer people to think about the goal that they're heading to. So a TikTok on its own, great, that's polished. That means you're a video editor. But what were you looking to achieve and what results did it generate? So I think also that's it's more like mindset thinking that I'm looking for personally in a person, and obviously motivation, than beyond a portfolio of visual aspects. So if your goal is to be a visual designer, that's super important. Like it starts with a portfolio, like no doubt, with a more, I don't know how to explain this, a more non-visual role where you don't have very clear always deliverables. That's like the same in sales. You can't say I have a portfolio of clients. That's just weird to say. With marketing, I have a portfolio of something. Then it comes to, or what I love in a hiring process is to do a test case or like a home assignment. So kind of like what your students do most likely every other couple of months. I don't know what the process is. So
8 weeks, we have a project, and they,
so
showcase the project.
This is exactly the same. It wouldn't take 8 weeks, but I would try to say okay, this is coming up in March. What kind of marketing plan would you put into place? And keep it low budget, but what would you do? And that would really fit how they would then, if they join our small hotel, what they would be actually doing day to day. It gives so much more insight. So if they understand where they're going, maybe the plan itself is not fantastic or there's some things missing, but the mindset is there. That's something you can build on. I believe you can't teach the mindset. That needs to come from someone within. How to get there, what channels, how to work. Those are all things you can learn.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was telling earlier that I actually hired people who called me because the company was working in hospitality, and these days calling.
Unimaginable. Unheard of. Unheard of.
I was just like, somebody called and I was talking with her, and I hired her on the phone on the same time. So
that makes big difference. Also makes someone stand out. So I can't say what the role is, but if calling is involved and they had the guts to call you up, big difference. Stands out fantastically.
Perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, standing out.
Authenticity
in the luxurious way of authenticity.
Yes. And then a discount.
And we need discounts for this.
If you order now. Exactly. Now, jumping to, I would say, the main theme of our podcast, human versus machine.
Ooh,
or man versus machine, or however you want to, bring it. So, the authenticity trap. AI promises to do everything now. It might be a bubble, it might be true, who knows. But they claim they can write the copy, they can edit the video, they can even answer guest reviews, they can be your digital twin in essence, and people are...
Allegedly.
Yeah, exactly. And we are already noticing a lot of these research papers going through the material which is online, and apparently the amount of AI-created crap online is overtaking the amount of human-created.
It actually has already.
Yeah, exactly. So, be honest. Could AI eventually automate the entire marketing department of a hotel?
My personal view is, especially where we stand now with AI, is that AI is a tool to get somewhere. It's not a means. It's not an end goal on its own. And I think that's where a lot of mistakes are currently happening. Like just AI something because, hey, great, or whatever. That's not how this works. And that's with anything, really. So as long as you have the end goal in mind and you know that, okay, I struggle with writing copy, for example, for my emails. Hey, I have this kind of topic. This is the events that are coming up. Can you help me write an email series? And then you can see and kind of judge and then send those emails out. Now, I would lie if I don't use AI because it's just easy to really, really come up with ideas fast. But it is not... If you start with the prompt, write me something about, that's where it's wrong already. Because you need to provide the input and the AI can help create something out of that. Like that is a fantastic way to apply AI. But the moment the AI is the leader and you're like kind of the passenger in the process, where we are now with AI, I don't believe in that. That makes no sense. You need to really look at what you're doing from day to day. And this is also with freelance, for example. Like if I look at, like I'm wasting time editing videos. Can AI edit that video? Does it still cost me time? Might as well get someone who's a specialist in a freelance. But if AI can do it, yeah, why not? Like there's no enemy in the AI. I mean, it's going to develop as we move forward. But where we are now, no, I don't see it that way.
Yeah, it sounds like we could even see a scenario where AI and freelancers, and then the kind of like the commissioner, in a sense, the hotelier, is the foundation of using the tools, using still the people, connecting kind of like those. Methodologies, to create something which helps the hotelier then to do the marketing, actions, etc. So kind of like having a human-machine ecosystem supporting the hotelier. But then when we move towards the more sophisticated AIs, do we risk losing the sense of humanity or hospitality if we just, let's, imagine that the AI actually develops into a format that it actually can perform at a level you would now expect it to perform. But can we still keep the hospitality feel in it, in the messaging, in the marketing sense?
We're now heading to tricky waters, because then the question is, how do you describe hospitality? What is that for you? But let's say we generalize it a little bit, and then hospitality is that you enter a certain business, so that can be a restaurant or a hotel. You are received in a positive manner that adds more to just like bringing food, and eventually you go home and you had a great feeling. Like if we generalize it like that, yeah, I think definitely I can play into that. How do you not lose the humanity? Is as long as someone feels that they're maybe being heard, or that they feel like, oh, this place has really thought this out. Now, obviously an AI can do that, but if we go a bit into the nitty gritty, artificial intelligence is still just artificial. It doesn't mean that everything's perfect. That's not how intelligence works. It's a matter of two perspectives meeting each other and hopefully agreeing that for the recipient, it is a positive experience. So as long as you hear the customer they feel like, oh, this was great. This is everything that I wanted in this night or that stay. It doesn't really matter how that setup works. Now, artificial intelligence needs also physical bodies like robots to maybe bring services. Like I saw that you guys have a robot running around the building, also cleaning up behind everyone. But there's not really necessarily a right or wrong with this, but I do think that humans always look for other humans. So sure, I don't like the front check-in desk because it just slows me down. But the answer is also that I don't want to be around people. I think people love people. People can be very annoying, but people still look for other people. And that's something that you can never take away, I believe.
Yeah, nice. You mentioned you are handling a lot of AI, or you use AI in your day-to-day business, etc.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What about the risks of using AI in marketing, especially?
The biggest risk on its own is that you let the AI lead, like I just mentioned. So if you, let's say, this is my customer, this is their problems, this is our solution, fire out an email without checking it, that's when you're on the back foot, because you don't really know what they sent. AI also makes mistakes. AI can't ever be perfect, because they will never fully understand the picture or the angle that you maybe want to come from, or where your recipient is maybe coming from. So yeah, I think as long as you you need to be the leader of that. Now, in the future, let's say there's a hypothetical future 50 years from now where like artificial intelligence and robots and they're actually employees. Unless you fully trust that person like you do with a human, so that would be the bar for me, and they have full ownership and the results are speaking like in a very positive manner, that's where you need to be careful that AI doesn't lead. Yeah. And I don't think we're remotely close to that point yet, but obviously that will in the future.
Yeah. Well, it's great to hear, and I also agree that AI is more here to amplify our creativity rather than replace the human factor from it. And I think hotels which get the balance right, they have AI. They use AI, but up to a limit. The ones who claim they can replace marketing or sales or whatever HR with AI at this stage, they're just full of it, I would say. Keeping it clean, but those who use AI smartly have an advantage over the ones who are not using it at all.
Yeah, and I think that comes again from two parts. Like, as long as you have strategic clarity on where you're heading, what's the goal? Why are you applying AI? If you're just applying AI for the sake of AI, the project alone is so distracting that you're heading towards a rabbit hole that doesn't make any sense. So as long as let's say AI can help write copy, but you actually never really write copy for whatever reason, just a hypothetical scenario, it doesn't really apply to you. It doesn't help you in any manner. Sure, you can now write whatever you want to write, but you're not using it to begin with. So as long as you know what you're doing and it optimizes what your output wants to be, fantastic. But that's also where people come in. So sure, AI can be much cheaper, not always, depending on the software and the amount of API calls you do, but AI on its own is not an answer. It's very much a tool. The tool is not a means to an end, or it's the means to an end, but it is an end.
Exactly.
A lot of hallucination in AI.
Yeah, it has developed a lot over the last year alone. Like if you look at this video content tools, like a couple of years ago, there's this example that I saw on LinkedIn the other day where supposed to be Will Smith eating spaghetti, and then it just looks absolutely horrible. But now, jump a couple of years, looks super realistic already. Sure, there's some flaws you can definitely kind of register or see where it's not perfect, but it has jumped fast a lot. So you can definitely use that to your advantage. But again, you need to lead. And again, if it starts hallucinating, you need to make sure that that's not part of your content strategy, or that it doesn't get used to begin with, or at least rectify it. So there's some issues with there.
Yeah. And this is exactly what we're researching in Finnish Hotel of Tomorrow project, what we're doing here in Haaga-Helian with Metropolia University of Applied Sciences, trying to understand where the balance is. How can we use technology when it comes to AI, robotics, or automation, smart tech, etc.
Yep.
So trying to find it in a testing environment, test these concepts kind of like in the real life, and then, of course, tell about it so people can learn.
And also learning about everything and making mistakes as well, Making mistakes is a quite good way to learn.
Yeah.
Have you ever done anything?
Like any mistakes? I mean, all the time marketing is about 90% making mistakes. Or let's say we look about campaigns. Like you constantly try to optimize what you're currently doing. So you have campaigns running, then you start changing the text a bit or the image a bit, and with the help of AI, make it a video or something like that. Turns out that the video performed, 90% worse, but changing the copy a bit with also maybe the help of AI, it was suddenly 25% better. Like, these are things that you do, but 90% of those tests are a fail for whatever reason. But as long as you learn fast and you fail fast, you can also exclude what you don't need to do in the future.
Cool.
All right. Let's talk a little about SaaS lessons for hotels.
Oh,
and
okay.
How can Applixure help in that?
I would say working at Applixure and also like jumping to SaaS. I think this is what Bob W did already a little bit in the day, but is really looking at this from a data-driven perspective. I think what I've seen a bit throughout the hospitality scene is that people are very much fixed on the kind of occupancy rates or like RevPAR in the short term. And it's never about how do we establish a base for a year or year ahead? How do we build continuously on top of that? What is our cost of acquisition? What is the lifetime value? What is the cost of getting someone back? And strategic focus towards these numbers, because if you can build on top of that and optimize those numbers, I mean, eventually this is what hotel owners or hotel investors, they are looking to those things. But if you're very much focused on the short term, like ships, I got 2 rooms that I need to fill in the next 2 weeks. Sure, you can emphasize all your effort on that, but you get the same problem after that and after that, and you start firefighting for filling the last rooms or being empty at one point. You need a bit more strategic focus. You need to be a little bit more forward, like looking ahead and reviewing these kinds of numbers. And I think that's what SaaS does really well. Now, SaaS obviously doesn't have like the difference with SaaS is that a hotel, if they had a room empty yesterday, you can't resell that room.
Yeah.
So that's gone forever, lost revenue forever. So that's definitely a big difference, and I can understand that. But I do worry that a lot of, especially small hotels, they just look at my hotel is filled. Okay. What was the pricing? Is there something that you could have done 3 months ahead? Is there something about 25% of the customers that we've ever had, how to get them back? This is a way more data-driven approach. I feel that would really benefit the smaller hospitality scene than this kind of firefighting constantly, which I see a lot.
Yeah, of course, that happens, and there's so much data at the moment.
Yeah,
so
maybe a bit too much even.
Yeah, and how to focus on those things that are the most important in our business.
Yeah, defining those to begin with is that definitely something that you need to establish with the team around you. So let's say you're the only marketeer in a hotel with 200, 300, 400 rooms or 1,000 rooms. Check with the commercial department. Check with the owner of the hotel, the general manager, I don't know who, but like, what are the most important things that we look at? And I guess your manager also reports to someone who also reports to someone who wants to see certain expectations. So as long as you all have the same direction, like these are the most important things. We're going to work towards this. And we're going to optimize this. You need to break that down. That's really where it starts. And you don't have to do in the first year, 20,000 metrics. Simplicity is key. The less you do, the better. So let's say your goal is just 80% occupancy rates throughout the entire year. Great. That's the only thing we focus on. You set that target and you go for it. Great. Then we know how to hopefully develop a plan to get there. But if you run around and everyone's kind of looking at different things, that doesn't help either. So you need to have strategic clarity and focus, but also be aligned with the rest of the team as well.
And you think that that's the biggest lesson about software world in hospital industry?
Well, the beauty about SaaS is that everything's digital, so you can measure everything. And hospitality, a lot of it also takes place offline. So would be a hypocrite to say that that's not a big difference, but there are these touch points. And I've seen just from people that we've spoken to over the years as well that you could be doing so much more instead of looking at how many people check my booking.com page. Like there's so much more that you need to focus on. Also not necessarily much more, but if you want return customers, okay, how many return customers do you have? How many people do you think have a chance of coming back? What are their segments? And then create a bit of a plan about that. It doesn't have to be complete chaos or rocket science or anything like that, but you need a plan. You need a method to the madness. If you don't have that plan, it's very difficult to develop then as well.
And long-term plan.
Long-term, ideally.
Yeah,
I understand that the short-term needs to pay for the long-term, like if you're struggling a bit, but ideally, yes. Like you can plan things quite far in advance.
Yeah, and of course, the world is changing around us so fast that we might need to adjust, but still.
Yeah, exactly. Always don't stick to your ways necessarily.
Yeah.
But I think for example, what we did at Bob W at the time as well was that we didn't see OTAs really as the enemy, which I think that the majority of the industry really like they're really against it somehow. Necessary evil. But why not use something that's extremely lucrative to your benefit? So, okay, they come through. You just focus that all your first customers, 99% of them are first-time bookers. They come through OTAs. Great. They come in, you get hopefully good ratings, good listings for future potential. But once they come through the door, you have 100% opportunity to get them back through direct channels. And why fight for that first one where you're really struggling with budgets that Booking.com has to get them back? That 25% is a lot more interesting, and there's where you want to build the relationship. So you could say, let's just focus on that 25%. We build an email marketing list with all these interesting topics, contents, and offers, not discounts, offers.
Maybe videos.
Yeah, for example.
Authentic
you can even
videos.
keep this in a closed environment that you really create a community that no one can actually see these videos unless you're in your special loyalty program. So these are things that you can definitely develop, and 25% across a couple of years, or let's say your business already exists for 20 years, that's thousands of people that could be coming back to you. So yeah, that is the interesting part that I would say that hospitality companies could jump on and do a lot better.
Thank you.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. 3
After all these episodes, now you're wowed.
Yeah.
It only took 10 episodes.
Exactly. I need to touch upon a few of the topics you mentioned: retention, maybe loyalty, partnerships.
Yep.
What is an OTA?
Are you asking me because online travel agent?
For the listeners, because OTA.
Sorry.
OTA.
Okay. Yeah, OTA, so online travel agent. So back in the day, way back, you went to a travel agent. They still exist across Helsinki. I've seen them. So you would go to a travel agency. They would book your trip for you. Nowadays, obviously, everything's online. And you can book hotels through, I would argue it's even just a marketplace, that all these hotels are compromised in an overview that you can select filters, and through booking.com just fit something or choose something that fits your budget, your style, and the requirements that you settle. So there's a few of the biggest ones in the world. There's mainly 3 OTAs. There's the booking.com group, which is, what is it, Priceline Group or something like that?
Booking Holdings.
Booking Holdings, okay.
Exactly.
Well, and then you have the Expedia group,
Yes.
which is hotels.com and the whole shenanigans that come with it. And basically, in my opinion, the third one is Airbnb. Those are the 3 main ones. Sure, you have GDS, which is all these.
Those are a bit different, but they are still distribution channels.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's another episode. I'm not going to jump into that because I have a headache with those channels. But those are the 3 main booking platform groups that you can book hotels through. And this is, if you think most likely to your listeners as well, your parents or you yourself, you book hotels, it's always through these channels. Like the majority of the time, you're not going to go through Google Maps, find every hotel that you're doing a future. Let's say we go to Tokyo with the 3 of us. Nobody's going to Google Maps you go to those channels. That makes total sense. If you go there frequently, you don't want to always check booking.com. You might do that directly to the website because they have better offerings. They have things that you want to book extra that you can't do on those channels. So if you diversify your strategy a bit compared to using those channels alone, then I think that could be an opportunity.
Yeah, I think why people use OTAs, online travel agent sites, is the kind of like the streamlined booking experience, because they've been, tweaking and, updating and enhancing the whole experience so that it's so easy.
It's the first thing. Easy.
So it needs to kind of like one of these, I would say, top tips for our listeners. Again, make your direct website booking experience as streamlined, or at least easy to book as well, because that's usually one of the obstacles. You see hotel Helsinki, which doesn't exist. You go to their website and there's a phone number or a contact us form. Come on, but you can book it via booking.com or Expedia. So there's kind of like you need to have the balance intact. Also, I want to highlight that you mentioned these channels as partners or partnerships, and I think that is kind of the key. Hotels see OTAs and all these channels which take commission as the enemies or the devils. But my belief is that you should use these channels in a way that it's both marketing and sales, and maybe even kind of like building the customer base, building your brand. So not just being on these channels, but actually making stuff happen in the channels, make most of it.
If I can quickly jump in there, because the reason why obviously hotels, they have a bit of a love-hate relationship is because the commissions that they pay is quite excessive. Depending on how big you are and the deals you've negotiated, it's going to be up to 30, maybe even 40% of the revenue that comes through. That's huge amounts because you need to run a hotel. But what is the alternative? So
not being there.
Well, not being there, but let's say all those big groups, they don't exist. How does one book a trip then? Then suddenly Google is like a person's best friend, but then you have a hate relationship with Google because you're not listing on the top. So you actually have at least a tool to get you revenue, and I think that's extremely powerful. Use it to your advantage. Your hotel is kind of full, but if you want to be more lucrative and you want to generate more, net profit, you're going to have to use that to your advantage. So if people then come through, and then we talk about retention and getting people back directly, I think that is just like, I don't necessarily get the necessary evil part. Sure, the commissions suck. Like it's really, really expensive, or it can be, but there is not really an alternative, and hotels don't really usually do a lot of marketing themselves to begin with. So sure, you can hate on a system that is maybe a bit pricey, but the alternative is that maybe your business wouldn't exist anymore to begin with. So you need to really think about this from a wider perspective, and also then use that system to your advantage. And it really is so not done currently.
Yeah. We're going to have a sequel on this. I think there's so much to discuss. Also about retention. Like, does a hotel have a retention strategy or a plan or anything? I think
commonly not. Definitely not. There's definitely opportunity for this. And if we really simplify what it means, and that means a marketing newsletter. Like just everyone who comes through, when they check in, would you like to receive offers in the future? We can send them. We'll use the email in your system. Yeah, sure. Why not? And then you build up a base. Like every month, it's not thousands of people to begin with, but just a simple like hundreds of people there, and that cumulatively grows, of course. So that is just the simplest version of it. Now we can jump into segmentation and we can complicate things a bit, but that's just where it starts. And I very rarely, if I check into a hotel or anything, I don't really get any newsletters to begin with. I perfectly don't like them because the quality is sometimes lack there. But that's just how simple this can go.
But why don't we make news videos or podcasts?
For example?
Because I'm getting a lot of letters from different companies. Mm-hmm. Who is the first one to make, in a few minutes, this is the thing, podcast or video?
It could be super interesting. Yeah. The question is then, how do you reach the people to view the content? And surprisingly, email is still a very personal, direct approach.
I can send the video through email.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if you follow a podcast on Spotify, you get notified that there's a new episode. So there's multiple channels. Yeah. I would argue that you need to own your own audience as well. So the moment you use an external channel, and that can be social media, that can be Spotify, wherever one consumes content, you don't necessarily own the channel. So you depend a bit on, let's say for whatever reason, Instagram goes bankrupt, it doesn't exist anymore, and you had 2 million followers there. Okay, kind of sucks right now. So having that base in an email marketing list or in a CRM, so the tool that we described, that gives you a lot more control over the relationship, and that's also something to keep in mind when using channels.
Yeah, noise.
Noise.
Before starting to wrap things up, loyalty programs. You mentioned loyalty programs. Mm-hmm. Are they something, let's say, a small or medium-sized hotelier should aim for? Or is it more talk than, action?
Oh, I would argue definitely do it. Like, why not give some extra value to people come back? Like, makes people feel special. It could also trigger that, if I book one more night, actually, I get all these benefits for that next trip or something. Like people, it's just an argument to book more, but it needs to be clear. Like, it's not that if you don't, I think with everything in hospitality nowadays, if it's not clear, like confusion just decreases the chance of a booking. So if you have, like at Bob W now, for example, if you go to their website, you book it, you can see if I book this many nights or this many stays, this is then the next benefit I can get. Great, that's just clear. It can be super simple like that. It doesn't have to be diamond premium tier with 3 million points and I can buy nothing with it. Like, I don't understand. Like, if you get to that kind of stuff, that kind of weird aspect of loyalty programs, then it's pointless. But again, if you have a very clear goal, majority of my customers stay 2 nights. I want to get them to 3 nights. Okay, build the program around getting it to 3 nights. And what would that entail? Talk to your customers. Very important, hospitality. So, and what is then a good personal experience to them to get an extra booking in? So, I think definitely loyalty programs is definitely something to consider. And just keep it simple. Yeah. Please. Simple. No one needs complexity.
Yeah, like traditionally in a restaurant, you get this stamp coupon thing.
Exactly.
One stamp for having lunch, and then like maybe the 10th lunch is free or half price or whatever. It's but that's simple.
Just keep it simple. Like hotels.com literally had this, I think. Like every 5th night you get for free or 10th night. Yeah. That's how simple it can be. Like, and you just every 10 nights you get something on us. Great.
Yeah. It is strange. Yeah, I know because I worked at Expedia Group. Hotels.com had these 10 nights and kind of like the next night is free. Mm-hmm. On Expedia side, you had points, and then on eBookers, you had different points. So, but now they have a unified loyalty program system. This one key or don't know what. I think we need to have a current Expedia representative coming to the show at some point or in a different podcast. Nonetheless, we've covered a lot of ground today. A lot. And I think there's way more ground to cover, but
scratch the surface,
Exactly. From demand generation to the dangers of over automating and kind of like relying on AI in its current state. Yep. But Marc, if we boil this down to one actionable advice, imagine a hotel manager is listening and they are planning their budget for next year, marketing wise. They have money to invest in one thing, only one thing to drive growth. They don't have too much money. Mm-hmm. Should they spend it on A, a new fancy website, B, paid ads, or C, a content creator, videographer, freelancer, whatever?
Well, the answer is boring. It depends. But this boils down to like, okay, do you understand the big picture for yourself? Like, do you realize? Let's say very simply, how much people are coming to your website, how many people are dropping off on your website, and how many bookings are eventually resulted of that. If you can see what you're missing, so let's say no one's coming to your website to begin with. Well, starting with some ads is a pretty good starting point. If you want more long-term traffic that you build a kind of like a digital community with, social media, excellent, but then you need videos. So we're talking about the videographer. Now, I would argue that the website always needs work. It's not something you set and forget. It's an evolution, like is your content strategy. And I think the average hotel website, sorry, not trying to bash everyone here, but it's not fantastic. And there's just friction generally there. And that just needs constant development. Now, that can be quite affordable. Like I said, you can work with parts of the world where it costs a fraction that it maybe costs with a local partner. So make sure that if you've identified your bottleneck, try to find a solution in your budget as well. It's very, very easy to do. So just put in the work and then you eventually get the results. So we also have a web developer from Poland. Fantastic guy, works day and night for a fraction of the budget if I work with a local agency. So to answer your question, I really would urge that smaller hotels really define what are we trying to do and how are we trying to do that. And then if I don't know how to do that, I figure that out. Everything's possible. Maybe through AI, maybe through a freelancer, maybe doing it yourself, which I would argue against the most times, but that is the most important. There's no simple answer to this part. However, if we jump into the website part specifically, a good website is the bare minimum. It's your best sales representative. That guy or girl, the website needs to be top notch. And I'm not saying like with all crazy animations flying around or anything, but it needs to do the job. It needs to say what you stand for, and then eventually that bookings come through.
Yeah, it needs to be online.
Well, that is a good starting point. Yeah. But these things get quite technical quite fast, and that sucks for someone who is not technical. But then surround yourself with someone who can advise you with that. Yeah. Like, don't try to figure out things that you're an expert in. You need a website. Okay, find someone in your budget that can create that for you.
Yes.
Yeah. We have a lot of student interns, for example, who need to practice their skills.
Oh, well, reach out to you guys.
So, Haaga-Helian University of Applied Sciences.
Well, actually, this would be fantastic, because this is a good learning, obviously, for your students. But on the other side, I think hotels would really like to understand from the future buyers, because your students are all the future. Yeah. So how do they perceive this? Like, and maybe it's like, why do you guys even have a website? Everyone does it now through TikTok or whatever. That's a great understanding. Like, okay, great. That's something we should definitely explore then. So
that's why we try to work with business as much as possible, because
they're intertwined.
Yeah. Okay. One more question about marketing. Maybe a few more.
Okay.
but what is the one single most important skill they should master today to be relevant in marketing in 2030?
That's a good one. I would argue a goal-driven mindset. Like I said, if you don't know where you're heading, you don't know how to get there. Let's say if we translate to your students, they want to work at a top-notch hotel in 5 years or whenever they're done studying. Okay, what does it require to get there? And now that you're a student, doors open for you a lot faster than when you're an employee. So maybe understand like, okay, if I want to work for, well, let's say Camp Hotel, you want to work there. There's a requirement of this, that you've worked in a restaurant, you've maybe have some pricing understanding. Okay, write that down. Make sure in the next couple of years you challenge yourself to figuring that out or have some experience in that kind of area. So keeping the goal in mind makes it very clear, okay, this is the journey I need to get there. If you have a bit of a random journey like market here, surprisingly a lot happens, they just get stuck in the day-to-day. But as long as you know where you're heading, it's very clear on how to get there and you just focus on that. So it sounds very jargony when I say it this way, but data-driven mindset, but like keeping the goal in mind. That's the most important skill, because if we talk about AI and all this stuff, and in 10 years from now it's something else, and back in the day it was suddenly the internet. Internet is not a skill or something. You need to understand how it works, but making sure you understand this is where I need to go. And AI is a step in that. It's not the goal. It's a step, or if you need some experience, that is a step towards that goal. So just defining the goal itself, the journey,
goal setting
itself.
Yeah. Nice.
Goal setting, maybe that's a simple way of putting it.
For example, trademark.
Haaga-Helian trademark.
Well, brilliant insights. I think this was again a masterclass. I would say. So thanks for opening up the black box of marketing. You know, people get marketing wrong most of the time, but I think we, again, as said, scratched the surface. We will have a sequel. Okay. Don't worry. But I believe many of our listeners got a lot out of it. Very actionable, tangible, advice to move forward. And maybe start, again, to set the goal, start testing, start learning, trying something new to kind of like, if you need more awareness, try, whatever is not happening now. In essence.
But most importantly, first the goal setting.
Goal setting.
And then experiment away.
Yes.
But make sure you know where you're
going.
Because otherwise the experiments, they get lost along the way. But yeah.
Cool.
Okay, amazing. Okay, we have this traditional final question.
Oh, okay. I wasn't really the last question.
No, it wasn't. Are you ready?
I am.
In your opinion, what is the ideal ratio between human and machine when it comes to delivering successful guest experience in the hotel of tomorrow?
In percentage.
Oh, I can only say one number, or sounds boring. It depends. No, I think where we're heading is very much 50-50. I don't think that there's if I really have to pick a side, it's 51 human, 49 machine, because I really believe that people still love people, even though everyone hates people. But people love people, and I think that's the human element should never go away. So I genuinely believe machines and AI, they're there to help. They are a tool to a goal, but it's never the winner.
Yeah, we actually asked this question to every guest, and it's fascinating to see how the answer varies. Of course, in the previous episode, we also had this 50-50 split, but it was again more depends on the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
In a service mindset, more 100% humans, but in more a process automated, task performing, more machine. So in that sense,
I think in the long term, like the average hotel is not this high super end where like margins are huge. So machines need to jump in to make things cost effective. What I also believe is that in the future there will be a 100% human experience, and that would be advertised in that way. Like, you only talk with people with us. Machines don't work here. Like, oh my God, finally. Like that I can definitely believe in 20, 30, 50 years, that a human first experience.
Likewise. Have you seen Blade Runner, the movie?
This is so funny. Someone asked me this literally yesterday, and I had to explain to them. All my friends have always watched it, and this is a movie that I've never watched. So no, I have never.
Well, let's schedule a movie night.
Okay, that's the sequel. That's going to be what it's all about.
Talk about Blade Runner.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Thank you, Marc, for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We are so grateful.
Yeah. Huge thanks, dude. To our listeners, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like. A lot. Very important. So the algorithm actually boosts us up. And
tag you all.
Yeah. See you in the next episode.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Tämä podcast pohtii ajatuksia ja luo keskustelua siitä, missä suhteessa meitä palvelee ihminen ja kone tulevaisuuden hotellissa. Miten teknologiset ratkaisut voivat mullistaa hospitality-alaa ja kuinka pitkälle ne kykenevät asiakaspalvelussa. Onko henkilökohtainen palvelu ihmiseltä ihmiselle tulevaisuuden luksusta? Me pyrimme löytämään käytännönläheisiä ideoita, inspiroivia esimerkkejä sekä strategista näkemystä tulevaisuuden haasteisiin ja mahdollisuuksiin.
Podcastin taustavoimana on hanke Finnish Hotel of Tomorrow FOT 2.0, joka on Metropolian ja Haaga-Helian yhteinen hanke, joka kehittää ja innovoi tulevaisuuden hotellia. Uusilla ja testatuilla palvelukonsepteilla sekä kiinteistöteknologisilla ratkaisuilla tuetaan majoitus- ja rakennusalan liiketoimintaa. Hankkeen rahoitus. Uudenmaan liitto ja Euroopan Unionin osarahoittama Euroopan aluekehitysrahasto EAKR.